afternoon. We're going to go ahead and get started. First of all, welcome to the April 27th, 2023 hearing of the Seminole County Code Enforcement Board. Before we begin, I'd like to advise everyone about the procedures that govern appearances before the Code Enforcement Board. This meeting is open to the public under Florida's Government and Sunshine Law. Therefore, every effort will be made to hear all persons having relevant evidence or arguments to offer. It is required that every person who appears before the Code Enforcement Board needs to be registered with our clerk, who is right over here. The cases where the respondents are present and signed in will be heard first. You will be sworn in or affirmed by the clerk. Once all cases where the respondents are present have been heard by the Code Enforcement Board, we will hear the remaining cases as they appear on the agenda. When your case is called, please be seated at the table reserved for the respondents, which will be up here in the front. The county will present their case, and then the respondents will be allowed to present your case. Additionally, please limit your comments to only information related to your case. Each party may question witnesses offered on behalf of the other party. Additionally, staff members may question those appearing in front of the Code Enforcement Board. The board will then make their decision based on the evidence and testimony as presented by both parties. All proceedings before the Code Enforcement Board are electronically recorded. Please speak directly into the microphone at the center of the table and state your name clearly before presenting your case. Should you need the assistance or any assistance due to a hearing impairment or a language barrier, please inform the clerk upon registration. All cell phones and other electronic devices should be turned off or silenced at this time while in the chambers. Thank you for your cooperation. That being said, we're going to go and I'll ask Madam Clerk, please do a roll call when you get the opportunity.
Catherine Townsend.
Present.
Dudley Bates.
Here.
Kevin Ross Andino.
Present.
Don Peterson. Dennis Warren.
Here.
Jane Hames. Yvette Brown. Here.
Thank you. And at this time, if we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. If you could remain standing, whoever is going to be testifying in any capacity today, you raise your right hand so the clerk can swear you in.
Do you swear affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth? Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, I am going to ask that we make a couple minor adjustments to the agenda, putting those cases first where the respondents have shown up here today. And that would be starting with case number 21-07 CEB on page 5, followed by, which would be Fernando and Argentono Palma, followed next by 22-35 CEB Archie Kyler, which is found on page 6. The first one was on page 5, the second one on page 6. And then after that we hear those two cases, we would go in the normal order of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda in that manner?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Bates, second by Ms. Townsend. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So we've done that. So we're going to go ahead and start with case number 21-07 on page 5. That is Fernando and Argentono Palma. This is a lien request. The case belongs to Officer Hill. If anyone's here for the Palma case, as far as respondents, folks, if you could have a seat at the table, and then one at a time, if you could tell me your name and how you're related to this particular case.
I'm Fernando Palma. I am the son, and this is my father, Fernando Palma, as well.
And you both been sworn. Thank you. You both been sworn in? And which one owns, which is the owner of the property?
My father and my mother.
Okay, very good.
He's going to serve as a translator.
You're,
What language are you speaking? Does he speak English?
He speaks both English and Spanish.
So you're going to help him in Spanish?
Yeah, I help my son to
Okay.
explain everything.
Okay.
Very good. Thank you. Officer Hill.
Officer Hill, Seminole County Sheriff's Office Code Enforcement. This is case 2107 CEB, Fernando Palma and Argentina J. Palma. I'm submitting a copy of my PowerPoint to the clerk as Exhibit 1. This property is located at 1062 Williams Street in Altamont Springs. A violation charge is Seminole County Code, Chapter 95, Section 95.4 is defined in 95.3A, which is rubbish. The initial inspection was done by Officer Hurd on March 25th, 2019, with a code board compliance date of May 7th, 2021, with follow-up inspections on May 11th, 2021 by Officer Hurd, and then I conducted the following inspections, and the latest one was yesterday afternoon. The results of my follow-up inspection was the useless waste material rubbish no longer remains on the property. These photos were taken by Officer Hurd on her initial inspection on March 25th, 2019. These photos were taken by myself, by Officer Hurd on May 11th, 2021 for the code board order. These photos were taken by myself on March 22nd, 2023. These photos were taken on the day of posting. The left photo shows the posting was done on April 12th, 2023. These photos were taken yesterday. So based on the testimony and evidence presented in case 2107 CEB, it's determined that the respondents, Fernando Palma and Argentina J. Palma, are the owners of record located at 1062 Williams Street, in possession or control of the property, and was in violation of Seminole County Code Chapter 95, Section 95.4, as defined in 95.3A. It's further recommended that the Code Enforcement Board, based on the findings of fact, conclusions of law and order issued on April 22nd, 2021, the Code Enforcement Board issue an order reducing the lien to the administrative cost totaling $624.23, which is a combination of the clerk's costs and the sheriff's office costs, and require the cost to be paid within 30 days, or the fine will revert to the original amount of $72,100 and will constitute a lien on the property. This concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Any questions for Officer Hill? I have one. Can you give a little background? And I see it's in compliance and thus the administrative cost recommendation. I thought I heard you say this started in 2019 and then here we are. What has transpired from then till now in order to...
So this was Officer Hurd's case originally. This came in as a complaint. She did multiple inspections. I'm looking through her case. She had opened the case back on March of 25th, 2019. She didn't hear from the property owner until June 5th, 2019. She spoke with Mr. Palma. She advised him she would need to remove the rubbish from the front and side yard. And he was presently in New York at that time, but would be back by the end of June, and she said she would give him until the end of June to get the property cleared, or would file the case for a code board. Multiple inspections were conducted after that. Looks like there wasn't a whole lot of communication from the property owner. I don't see any other notes from Officer Hurd. She did get a complaint October 14th of 2021 by a commissioner, and Officer Hurd informed them that there was already a code board case, and the fines were running at that time.
Do you know, and I know it wasn't your case, but do you know if there were any attempts by the respondents to remedy, or you just don't know, or?
Well, most recently I did hear from Mr. Palma's son, and he had said the issue they were having out there was dumping from other people. So we did talk, and I told him that when the property looks abandoned, people are going to take advantage of that situation and continue to dump. So I suggested if you start getting the property cleaned up and it looks decent, then people are less apt to continue to dump out there. So he did get the rubbish taken care of.
Thank you. Any other possible questions for those? Okay, seeing none, either one of Mr. Palma's, this is your opportunity to speak on behalf of this.
My parents were in New York for a long time as they were retiring, and I was injured. I actually broke my knee, so I wasn't able to take care of the property for some time. When we heard from Officer Hurd, I went over there and did as much as I could to try and fix it, but I couldn't get there consistent enough. And then when my parents moved in, shortly after, which I think was 2022, because now they're permanent in Florida now. We had a massive leak on the roof, and it damaged everything. So everything, because I started working on it to make it ready for them. It was all destroyed. We got more complaints. I had to rent out a place for all three of us, and during that time, people continued to dump at the property. I rented a big dumpster for, I think it was 2 or 3 days, and we took care of everything. And as I healed up, I didn't go back there. When I did go back, I saw that there was another notice there that we were in violation, and I saw a lot of trash there. So I bought a trailer, and I started taking things out of there. And then my truck broke down, and then it accumulated again. So, and then the hurricane had hit also, and it destroyed. I had bought material to fix the roof, and it destroyed all that material during the hurricane. My sister loaned us the money to buy more material, which is what Officer Hill saw. It's up on there, because I'm going to start working on it again, because we are on a month-to-month. I need to move my parents back into the house, so I have to have it ready. So I'll be there every week, at least twice a week, until I have it ready so they can move in. And there won't be, as Officer Hill said, they're dumping probably because it looks abandoned. So once my parents are there, it's not gonna be abandoned. And I'm gonna be there more often because I need to do a lot of repairs to the property.
Thank you. Any other questions for the respondents? Seeing none, and again, let's keep in mind, this is a lien request. The recommendation has been to reduce it from the $72,100 to administrative cost of $664.23 if paid within 30 days. I'll see when that is. That's the recommendation on the table. The case has already been heard. There's already been a violation found. So that's what we're here for today. 30 days would put us at May 27th, I believe.
Correct.
Yes. So that's where we're at. Recommendation is administrative cost $624.23.
I move to accept the recommendation of reducing it to the administrative costs and paid within 30 days.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Ross, second by Mr. Bates, to reduce the amount of the fine from $72,100 to $624.23 if paid within 30 days, if paid by May 27th, and if not, it would be revert back to the original amount. Any questions on that? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That's what we've done. Administrative cost at this point, just make sure you pay them, communicate, well, you just pay them, I guess, are they in compliance? They're in compliance, right?
Yes, they're in
Okay.
compliance.
Well, thank you for all you've done, and thank you for coming in.
Thank you. Where do we pay?
She'll tell you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, that takes us
Thank you.
to, thank you.
Thank you.
Case number 22-35, which will be found on page 6. That's Archie L. Kyler Ayers, 1238 Dunbar Street, Altamont Springs, 32701. And if you could have a seat. Sir, are you with the respondent? Are you all together?
Yes,
Okay, sure, have a seat there, sir, and then once you guys get comfortable there, if you could identify your name, please.
My name is Larry Kyler. I am the older of the heirs.
Okay. Sir, your name?
Archie Kyler.
Archie.
Yes.
Thank you. And you've been sworn?
Junior.
Okay. Have you, okay, thank you. Have you all been both been sworn in by the clerk?
Yes.
Very good. Okay, it's another lien request. Officer Henson, this is your case, so whenever you're ready.
Specialist Henson, Seminole County Sheriff's Office Code Enforcement. For the record, I'm submitting a copy of the presentation to the clerk as Exhibit 1. This is case 2235 CEB, Archie L. Collier, located at 1238 Dunbar Street. The violation charged with Seminole County Land Development Code 30, Chapter 30, Section 30.182 and 30.183, outside storage. Officer Herr first observed the violation on October 4th, 2021. A code board order was on August 24th, 2022, with a compliance date of September 9th, 2022. Follow-up inspections were conducted 9/12/2022 and 9/19/2022. The results of the follow-up inspection was outside storage was no longer remained on the subject's property. This photo was taken on the initial inspection on 10/5/2021 by Officer Hurd. And this photo was taken on 4/10/2023 by myself when I did the posting of the notice of hearing. And the next photo was taken yesterday, 4/26/2023 by myself, showing the property remains in compliance. The suggested recommendation, based on the testimony and evidence presented in the case number 22-35-CEB, it is determined that the respondent Archie L. Kohler, heir, the owner of the record of property located at 1238 Dunbar, located in Seminole County, as determined by the property appraiser's record, is in possession or control of the property, was in violation of the Seminole County Code, Seminole County Land Development Code, Chapter 30.1. I can't speak. Chapter 30, Section 30.182 and 30.183. And it's further recommended that the Code Board, based on the findings of fact conclusion of law and order issued on August 24, 2022, the Code Enforcement Board issue an order reducing the lien to the administrative cost totaling $470.33 and require these costs to be paid within 30 days, or the fine will revert to the original $2,500 and will constitute a lien on the property. This concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Any questions for Officer Henson? Seeing none, sirs, this is your opportunity to speak on behalf of this. You've heard the recommendation. We're here to decide whether a lien can be placed and how much, and the recommendation at this point is that a lien be placed for $470.33 as long as it's paid within 30 days. The original amount was $2,500, which is... Yes, sir.
No, I want to speak.
But I'm sorry. Go ahead. But I'm going to tell them.
It originally started way back. My parents and my brother, my mother and my brother used to have garage sales. And my mother passed in 18. So my brother continued to have the garage sales, but he was having them at the house. If you take a look at the picture, you'll see that nothing was like trashy, like he had it all in order. So Miss Dorothy was telling my brother one thing, but she was telling the county a different thing. She was saying he was allowed to have garage sales at the house, as long as he have it decent and in order. And that's what he was doing. If you would notice the pictures again, you'll notice that he got them hung up nice. It wasn't trashy. Okay, so after so many complaints from neighbors, I'm sure it came from neighbors, that this is why all of those dates are up there, because people were calling in. You know, I moved from New York to come and help my parents out. And this is what was taking place at the time, you know. So he continued to do it. See, it's not thrown anywhere. It's just nice and in order. But then she was behind our back saying that we were in violation. So I told him when we got a letter in September of last year, I read the letter, and that's when it was saying that we was in violation. So I told him, I said, you got to stop having these garage sales because she's a backstabber. Just plain and simple. She was telling you one thing, but then she's writing a letter to you guys saying a different thing. So we cleaned it up. I helped clean it up. You know, the storm damage, you can see the blue tarp hanging down. So at that particular time, we had storage stuff, so we put it in the storage, moved the storage in the back of the house and everything. So we cleaned it all up, as you see here, but it was wrong for her to tell him that it was allowed, because she was in good standing with my mother, you know. So that's why she was allowing them to have garage sales, you know, on a daily basis. They would have stuff out there, you know,
Yeah. Go ahead. You finish? Yeah, as you notice, the picture with the little furniture, she told me you keep it neat, you always have, and I'm not going to complain about that. And that's what I did. I never had very much, just that, like you see right there, and I have it neat. And then next time I turn around, she's saying something totally different. But she didn't tell me this. She's telling somebody else this.
because it was calling complaints.
Yeah, right, yeah. She said, I wouldn't bother with you or trouble you, except for somebody's calling. So that's when I moved that, as you notice, the next picture, so you don't see none of that stuff. It was just what you see right there. And I took it on out and put it back in the storage in the back of the house. And I've been sickly for a long time, and right now, you don't see nothing out there. No way. I keep going back and forth to the hospital. It's going to be hard for me to pay money because I'm not working or nothing, you know. And I can't have no more garage sales, you know, because I can't lift stuff anymore like I used to.
And I'm a disabled vet, so I'm on a budget. It took me a hard time to catch up the taxes for 2 years. My dad was dementia, so I had to come and take care of all of this stuff and get everything caught up to date. My finances barely helped me get past paying the bills here. So with this additional $470, we don't have the money. We definitely don't have it. He left us in a bind. We had to try to come up with an attorney because he didn't even leave our name as heirs on the property. Everything was just blank, just his name. Actually, when I came up here to try to get a roofing permit to do the roof because of the storm, found out that the house wasn't even in his name. It was in my mother's name, and she died in 18.
She died before.
So I had to come up, and I borrowed from my pastor, $4,000 from my pastor, and I still owe him today to get a building permit to fix the roof. And you see the tarp is still up there because we don't have the money to fix the roof. You know, so.
And everything in that house right now is it's destructive.
Okay. Yeah. Anyway.
It's soaking wet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Any questions for the respondents? I've got one for Officer Henson. If the board were to consider reducing it even less than the administrative cost, would staff object to that?
It's a pleasure of the court, whatever.
And I do remember some of this, Ms. Hurd's case, including that she had been out there a number of times, and I don't think she was opposed to y'all having a garage sale or whoever it was. I think the issue was this stuff was left out there for long periods of time, but that violation's already been decided. It's been cleaned up. It's been cleaned since September, and we'll leave it to the pleasure of the board where we go. Right now, the recommendation that we have on the table is to reduce the $2,500 fine to $470.33 if paid within 30 days. Does the board have any thoughts, motion?
If y'all, before y'all decide, if y'all would consider, we don't even have the $470, and we wouldn't have it in 30 days either. So that means that it'll go back to the $2,500, which is going to put us in more of a bind. So if you all would consider our situation, you know.
It's wide open. The board can do as it feels.
I'm comfortable recommending that we waive the fee altogether. And I so move.
Okay. Motion that we waive the fees in this particular case by Mr. Ross.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Bates. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. The fees have been waived. I think a lot has to do that since you've had it clean since September, your efforts coming down here to take care of it. Thank you.
No, thank you.
That's
Thank you all.
stuff that's inside and
Right.
wet,
Yeah.
don't put it out in the driveway for sale again. So,
Thank you and the board.
Have a good day, and
All right, thank
appreciate
you.
your efforts.
Thank you
We
and the
did have
board,
one other
please.
case come in that we'll hear next. It's number 1 in our agenda. So this brings us right to the front of the agenda in any case, and that's case number 23-15 CEB Linda J. Trikakis, 1436 Shadwell Circle, Lake Mary, Florida, 32746. And when the parties to that case get situated, we'll have them sworn in. Ma'am, can I get your name?
Good afternoon. My name is Koe Ferreira. I'm power of attorney for Linda Jean Trachakis, resides at 1436 Shadwell Circle.
Okay, and your name again?
Koe, K-A-U-E, Ferreira.
Okay, your name, please?
My name is Brett Bearden. I'm her assistant with helping Lynn Trachakis.
Okay, and this is Ms. Trachakis?
Trachakis.
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 Okay, and if I could get you all to raise your right hand to be sworn in by the clerk? That's good enough.
Do you swear affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Somebody speaking on her behalf, I guess primarily?
I guess I would.
Okay.
So we'd received a notice.
Well, give me 1 minute. Officer Tamulonis, if you want to present whenever you're ready.
For the record, Joanne Tamulonis, Code Enforcement Officer for Seminole County Sheriff's Office. I'm going to submit a copy of the PowerPoint presentation to the clerk as Exhibit 1. This is case number 2315 CEB. The respondent is Linda Trachakis. I believe I said that correctly. The violation charged is Seminole County Code, Chapter 95, Section 95.4, as defined in 95.3G. Let me back up. This is located at 1436 Shadwell Circle. This is an unsecured pool violation. My initial inspection was on 8/30/2022. I left a door hanger on the property on that same date. I have had numerous conversations, voicemails, meetings with Kuwait. I'm sorry, I don't know your last name, Kuwait. I missed that. I followed up with a written notice of violation, as I understood from the conversations that they were not going to be able to complete securing the pool by the time specified by the door hanger, which was 9/14. He said they were not going to make that date. So I gave a written notice of violation on 9/14, and in between there, we also had 2 hurricanes. The second notice went out on 12/3/2022 with numerous compliance dates, 9/14/22, 9/30/22, 12/30/22, and numerous follow-up inspections, the last one actually being today. The problem started with, apparently, from my understanding, there was a 3-story screen enclosure around this pool. I don't know what happened to it originally. It has been secured with a temporary barrier. First, it was an orange-type fencing on my initial inspection, but that fencing had partially fallen down, which is why I gave some time, and the property is occupied. Since then, they've changed out that temporary barrier to, I believe it's a dark green temporary type fence, and it seems to be up most of the time, but is not secured according to code. You can see this on 8/30/23, no, I'm sorry, that needs correction. 8/30/2022 was when that photograph was taken. Please let that reflect on the record. And you can see the gap between the hedge There's a stick kind of leaning, and there's the orange fence. So there was an opening there. There was also an opening at another point in the hedge because they were using the hedge as part of the barrier, which was not sufficient. On 4/10/2023, Specialist Shannon Henson posted the property for this hearing, this notice of hearing, and you can see in the distance, there's a post, and I zoomed in on it for the next photograph so you could see that there is actually a temporary fence still there. However, as I said, not secured according to code. The suggested recommendation by the code enforcement officer is that based on the testimony and evidence presented in case number 2315 CEB, it is determined that the respondent is Linda Chakakis, is the owner of record of the property located at 1436 Shadwell Circle, located in Seminole County, as determined by the property appraiser's records, in possession or control of the property, and in violation of Seminole County Code Chapter 95, Section 95.4, as defined in 95.3G. And further recommend the Code Enforcement Board issue an order for the respondent to correct the violation on or before midnight of May 11th, 2023. In order to correct the violation, the respondent must secure the pool according to the code requirements, or a fine of $250 a day be imposed for each day the violation continues or is repeated after compliance. I would like to add that Kuwait, I last spoke to Kuwait in December, and she was facilitating hiring a contractor. I'm trying to see if I have the name of that contractor. I believe that was Superior Fencing. They were supposed to give an estimate on January 2nd, 2023, and then the other information we have that was given by Shannon Henson the day she posted it. I believe it was Kuwait she spoke to, and the fence was apparently approved by the HOA, but they were not going to be able to complete this fencing by this hearing date. Thank you. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Any questions, Officer Tamulonis? Mr. Bates?
Is the work ongoing right now with this contractor to
I have
secure the pool?
I have seen no physical evidence of the contractor doing anything. I still only see a temporary fence around that pool, and this has been ongoing since last August.
And second question is, there water in the pool?
There was last time I was close enough to it.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, this is your opportunity to speak to this. Ms. Rivera, I guess you're going to be speaking.
Ms. Ferreira, yeah. So initially, the violation was for a stagnant pool, which, let's go back to 2014, there was a 2-story enclosure on that pool. The neighbor's tree fell over and caused destruction on her property, completely diminishing the enclosure, which she had to uphold this code. So it's for a stagnant pool as well as unsecured fencing. So diligently, we worked to get the pool resurfaced. We had Family First Pool come out right away. We had a brand-new pool put in. And later, we had the hedges around the trees trimmed as we had contracted a new landscaping company, causing that image which you saw of the orange fencing hanging over. That's not at all how we've maintained that. We understand that is an issue, and we've been working diligently to handle this matter. However, in that meantime, my initial job is as Lynn's caregiver, okay? My job is to care for her, make sure that she's well. And so all this is new to me, and being in this position now, to speak on this behalf, there have been permits submitted. I have had, as Joanne mentioned, I've had Superior Fencing come out on January 3rd for an estimate for at 2:30. I had another estimate with the Stephen on January 6th for 3 p.m. Both of these were for aluminum fencing. Now, at that time of the estimate, it was stated that because of where the irrigation is placed, that would have to be moved. And I'm trying to minimize the amount of spendings currently going on. So I said, well, let's get a quote for a pool enclosure, which we had done on February 1st with U.S. Aluminum. That was a $20,000 quote for the pool, not anything that we were willing to do at this time, as well as Superior Fencing. We got a quote from them, was about $7,000, and the other was about $8,000. So we'd spoken with a follow-up. We were at her podiatrist one day, whom had mentioned there's this enclosure. I'm not sure how to explain this, but it's safe and it would meet code. It pretty much drills around the surface of the pool. It has a gate, self-closing, all that jazz. I guess you set it up to how you want it. Those permits have been submitted to Heathrow as of 2 weeks ago in order to have these work done at the premises. However, being that we are in the community, we cannot proceed without their approval. And as of we've been emailing them since, heck, Lynn was on this fencing thing last year. I would hear her talking about, oh, I'm talking about looking at this fencing, and this is what kind of fencing I would like for the pool. So she'd been diligently working on this prior to the unfortunate health decline. I have an email dated as of the 26th of April, 2023 at 10:16, which is yesterday, from the property manager, Jackie Riviera, stating that the neighborhood is still overseeing this permit and that DRBs and ARBs take up to 30 days upon reveal. That's all I have at this time.
Anybody else?
I would like to add, Linda was admitted to Orlando Regional Medical Center as of October 16th and discharged back home as of November 16th, so about 5 weeks there. And then we went back into inpatient rehab in February and was discharged on March 10th, which is a month from the letter of notice.
Okay.
Just wanted to add that in there.
Is there anybody else that has anything to present on your?
Do you have anything you'd like to say, Lynn?
Any questions for the respondent?
Do you has I understand it's the HOA is one of the, do you have any general understanding of how long it's going to actually take for you to get the permits and the contractor to actually do the work?
Well, according to the email I received, it stated it would be 30 days. I've submitted those permits 2 weeks ago. So then it's a matter of once those permits are received as an approval, then we just order the supplies and have it installed.
Do you have any idea how long it's going to get the supplies to have it installed, or can you get that started?
We already have all that set up with the distributor, I guess, we're going with.
So if, obviously you're not going to be able to do this by May 11th, what would you think would be a reasonable time to complete it?
Perhaps by June. That way I have plenty of time, or ample time, to hear back from Heathrow, 1, and then 2, to execute the project. Now, let's not forget that my responsibility mainly is Linda's health. So all this other stuff is,
Understood.
I mean, I understand, there's code in places and things that are required, but, at the end of the day,
Could you clear up for me, I'm a little confused on the permit thing, because you said you've applied for you have permits, and you say you applied for permits with Heathrow. Do you have a permit with the county to do the work you're talking about doing?
We submitted a permit to Heathrow, which is where we reside, to have.
But Heathrow does the county government who issues the permits?
Oh, I'm not sure on that.
It's probably not a permit, it's probably a request for work.
It's a secured golf course community with HOAs. There's a master HOA, then there's our HOA for the community, which we live in. So there's 2 HOAs. Then there's county and the code and whatever else, you name it.
So
I'm just trying to navigate her state and her estate with trying to understand what sources I have to me, given her current state, and the date in which I was reined in as her power of attorney, which would have been February 17th. Again, she was back into rehab, so that takes away from time and being there to, get these things
I understand that.
cared for.
Ask Ms. Makowitz from county staff to speak with us for a minute.
For the record, Mary Moskowitz, Planning and Development Services. I just checked the system. There has not been a permit applied for. It will require a fence permit.
From the county.
From the county as well. And they can be done, they're called a fast permit, so we typically can do those in about 3 days to review.
If I can add, that's something that I wasn't aware of, that I would have to go through the county, so
Ms. Moskowitz, is she
just wanted
gonna
to add that
as
to
a
the
part of that
record.
permit, is she going to have to show that she's gotten permission from her HOA?
So it's subject to HOA approval. We don't review that.
So she can get yours and
She can
not-
apply for the Seminole, and we'll just put a stamp subject to HOA approval.
So it looks like there's a couple hurdles here, but it sounds like you may be moving forward on them. Again, I think Mr. Ross had...
I haven't been sleeping.
He said he was curious how long it would take, in your estimation, to get through. Sounds like the county end of it might be quicker than your HOA, but you say June?
Right, perhaps June, just to be safe. Being we have numerous amounts of appointments this month.
So June 11th is 45 days, June 26th is 60 days.
Anybody? I was going to make a motion, if no one else had a question. I would move to set the due date for the 60 days. Given everything I've heard today, I think that would be more of a realistic, I think there's a desire to comply, so I would move to recommend 60 days to give them to do everything, and if not, the rest of the recommendation with the fines and everything would proceed.
So June 26, 2023, or a fine of $250.
Correct. That's my motion.
Second.
Motion on the floor and second by Mr. Ross, second by Mr. Bates, to accept staff's recommendation, however, extending the compliance date until June 26, 2023. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes. That's what we've done. You have till June 26. Please stay in communication with Officer Tamulonis, especially when you get to the finish line on this, so we can make sure you don't have to come back here again.
Thank you. And then if I can just know whom I would speak to in regards to getting that permit for the county.
Ms. Officer Tamulonis will guide you wherever you need to.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all
Thank you for your
everything,
time.
all your efforts.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. And brings us to item number 2 on page 2 in the agenda. It's case 23-19 CEB, Allison DeSanto, Credit Suisse First, Boston, Les Pendants, 3230 Caulfield Street, Apopka, 32703. And Officer Bavara, good to see you.
You and Officer Bavaro, Summit County Sheriff's Office Code Enforcement. For the record, I'll be submitting a copy of the PowerPoint presentation to the clerk as Exhibit 1. This case 2319 CEB Allison DeSantos. Property is located at 3230 Caulfield Street. Violation charges Seminole County Code, Chapter 95, Section 95.4 is defined in 95.3B, which is uncultivated vegetation. Initial inspection was conducted by Specialist Banks on 7/7/2021. She issued a notice on 2/7/2021. Several follow-up inspections and notices issued by myself, the most recent being yesterday, revealed that the violation remained on the property. Images accurately depict the violations on the dates in which they were taken. This one by myself on 1/3/2023 showing the vegetation. Another one on 1/25/23 showing the vegetation still tall. 2/14/2023. This is where I posted the property with a notice of hearing on 4/11/2023, and the vegetation still remains tall. Based on the testimony and evidence presented in case number 2319 CEB, it's determined that the respondent, Allison DeSanto, is the owner of record of the property located at 3230 Caulfield Street, in possession and control of the property and in violation of Seminole County Code, Chapter 95, Section 95.4, it's defined in 95.3B. Request the board issue an order for compliance on April 11, 2023. In order to comply, they must remove all the uncultivated vegetation in excess of 8 inches, or a fine of $50 will be imposed. It's important to note that I did have a case several years ago on this property for violations. I do have a lien, a code enforcement lien on it for those violations. I did make contact with a male who, there was a case related, put him at this property. He was familiar with the property, said, this was in December, said they were going to sell the property, and they would take care of the violations subsequently. They didn't. There was a junked vehicle violation, which they did correct originally, but the vegetation still remains high. And there's a Les Pendants also on the property. So that concludes my presentation.
When was the former case?
Many years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, many.
Any questions for Officer Bavara?
Just one, you have a compliance date of April 11th. Did you mean May 11th? I'm sorry, yes, May 11th. Okay. Yes, thank you. So, okay, that would be difficult. Yeah.
Any other questions? For a motion,
I'll move to accept the recommendation with the May 11th date.
Second.
motion by Mr. Ross, second by Ms. Townsend to accept staff's recommendation as presented. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next case is on page 3 in your agenda. It's case number 19-20 CEB Craig McNair, personal representative for the state of Charles Bailey, 5266 Michigan Avenue, Sanford 32771. Officer Tamulonis.
Joanne Tamilonis, Code Enforcement Officer, Seminole County Sheriff's Office. I'm giving a copy of this PowerPoint presentation to the clerk as Exhibit 1. This is case number 1920 CEB. The respondent is Craig McNair, personal rep for the estate of Charles E. Bailey. The location of the violation is at 526 Michigan Avenue. This is a repeat violation of Seminole County Code, Chapter 95, Section 95.4 is defined in 95.3B, which is uncultivated vegetation in excess of 8 inches in height. The original Code Enforcement Board order was February 28, 2019, and I filed a repeat violation on 8/8/2022 with an affidavit of repeat violation and a letter to the respondent on 8/15/2022. There were numerous follow-up inspections between 11/18/2022 and again this morning. The violation of the uncultivated vegetation remains on the property. This is a photograph taken on 8/8/2022. This property is very deep. There's actually a house way in the back. You can't really see it. So the vegetation ranges from 0 to 4+ feet in height. This is, I believe this is, it's probably a couple of acres, at least 1 acre. I'm sorry, I don't have that information at hand. I'm sorry, Kara. I'm out of sync with you. On 11/18/2022, you see another photograph taken of the site. The vegetation is overgrown. On 1/13/2023, another image with the postings on site. A few more images so you can clearly see the vegetation overgrown. Then on 2/10/2023, another image, more postings, and pause there. And you may recall that we have been here attempting to hear this case a couple of times, I believe since January, and due to information I discovered in the process of presenting this case, I found some extenuating circumstances that apparently Mr. McNair had been going through, which I wanted more time to try and get in touch with him. Through quite a bit of effort, I did find him and spoke to him. He said he has been in the hospital. He had been changed a few times we spoke. He had then been sent to a rehab facility, and I explained to him what was going on with the property. He was going to get someone to represent him to come to this hearing, someone to go out there to mow the property, and then we weren't getting anywhere since then. So the last time we were here, I believe that was February, I requested that this be heard this date, and figured that would give him plenty of time, that he had only asked for 30 days back in February. So here we are. We're not making any progress, and he has not communicated anymore with me. Specialist Shannon Henson was out there on 4/10/23, as you see in this photograph, and posted the property with the notice of hearing. And I understand she also tried to reach out to him to the number provided in my report, and left him a message, and we have not heard back from him. So I don't have anything else that I can add to this except to go to the recommendations. So based on the testimony and evidence presented in case number 1920 CEB, it is determined that the respondent is Craig McNair, personal rep for the state of Charles E. Bailey, is the owner of record of property located at 5266 Michigan Avenue, parcel ID 361929 502 0G000000, located in Seminole County, is determined by the property appraiser's records, in possession or control of the property, and is in repeat violation of Seminole County Code, Chapter 95, Section 95.4, is defined in 95.3B, and further recommend and the Code Enforcement Board issue an order constituting a lien in the amount of $13,150 for 263 days of noncompliance from August 28, 2022 through and including April 27, 2023 at $50 per day. And the fine shall continue to accrue at $50 per day for each day the violation continues or is repeated after April 27, 2023. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Any questions for Officer Tamulanis?
I have one. Do you know if he is still in an institution?
I do not know.
Okay.
You know, this is an odd case. He was in a repeat violation, came into compliance, paid the $5,900 and some dollars, went back out of compliance, but I mean, you can't get a hold of him to do something. But anyway, we don't know where he's at. So, any other questions? The recommendation is to impose a lien $13,150 with fine continuing to accrue $50 per day.
I move the officer's recommendation.
I'll second it.
Motion by Mr. Bates, second by Mr. Ross to accept staff's recommendation, imposing the lien at that amount and continuing to accrue at that same amount noted in the presentation. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Brings us to, get there. Page 7, case number 23-, oh, that was withdrawn.
You're done.
Oh, okay,
Just go to the last
Let me
page.
get back to see what we got. What looks like we're done with cases. Do we have minutes to approve? I don't see.
I think what you're going to do is you're going to approve minutes from last month and the month before next month,
Okay.
right?
Yes, because I think Ms. Hames here.
Yeah. And then you also will have elections next month for chair and vice chair. So it's an important month. If you can't be here, please let the clerk know. It's May 25th. And I think that's it. I think your chamber is empty.
Any other business, old business, or any for the good of the orders? Seeing none, motion to adjourn.
So
So
moved.
moved. Second.
All approved, say aye. Aye.
Nay, I'm just kidding.
That concludes our hearing. Thank you.